Hi everyone, Slade Perrins here from Speedcafe.com to preview the upcoming round of the REPCO Supercars Championship at Mount Panorama. We're coming to you today from the Gold Coast Street Circuit in Surfers Paradise as everything gets ready for the Boost Mobile Gold Coast 500 at the end of October. Stick around to the end of the video, we'll show you a bit of the setup that's going on around here. But before that, we've got the most grand event on the Supercars calendar coming up for you, a race full of history. It's the REPCO Bathurst 1000, and this is Ryco filters clearing the air. Let's start with Bathurst liveries, and there's a few fresh looks that are going to be floating around this weekend. First of all, the super cheap auto-backed wildcard of Craig Lowndes and Declan Fraser has had the covers taken off its great race look at a launch event in Bathurst. Car 888 will feature thousands of fan photos, which is quite a special thing for those individuals involved. Speaking of wildcards, the Boost Mobile backed wildcard of Greg Murphy and Richie Stanaway will be at Bathurst. There was a bit of concern lingering over that one following Pukekohe, and Erebus Motorsport has been able to repair Will Brown's number 9 chassis that was crashed in New Zealand. So the spare car remains in the hands of Greg Murphy and Richie Stanaway for this weekend. Now, the Super Cheap Auto and Boost Mobile wildcards will actually share a pit boom at Bathurst, so they're right at pit entry, and that one will draw a lot of attention down to that end of pit lane, that's for sure. And while we're on wildcards, the Matt Charter Motorsport entry of Jalen Robotham and Matt Charter has had its livery revealed. It's going to feature Caltex backing for Charter and Robotham in the number 118 ZB Commodore. The Shelby Power Racing team will feature a tribute livery on both of its Ford Mustangs at Bathurst, and that's to celebrate an historic milestone for Dick Johnson Racing as an entity itself. The team will notch up its 1000th Supercars race this weekend, which just so fittingly happens at Mount Panorama, a place that Dick Johnson himself has plenty of history at. Both the Anton De Pasquale, Tony D'Alberto pairing and the Will Davison and Alex Davison pairing will don the special look, which is a nod to the EL Falcon driven by Dick Johnson himself, a Supercars Hall of Famer, and his son. He shared with Stephen Johnson in 1998, and that was the first time the father and son combination shared a car at Bathurst. And a few other liveries to show you. We've got the Team 18 Scott Pyle and Tyler Everingham car, which will run back in from Elspec for both Bathurst and Gold Coast. Then there's the Premier Racing car of Chris Pither and Cameron Hill, which will adopt a retro look. Now that one is inspired by the Coca-Cola Commodore VR, which claimed a podium finish in the 1995 Great Race, driven by Wayne Gardner and Neil Crompton on that occasion. Both Erebus Championship cars will look a little different at Bathurst as well, with a reversion to a black base on the cars. And then there's Brad Jones Racing that will welcome Wet and Forget as naming rights partner on the Macaulay Jones and Jordan Boys entry. Kiwi Jackson Evans has been confirmed for his debut in the Great Race, and that is following an evaluation day with Brad Jones Racing. So he had been in the frame to partner Jack Smith in the number 4 SCT Logistics Commodore, and that was after David Waugh was ruled out. However, all that was actually for Jackson was dependent on an evaluation day at Winton Motor Raceway, and that happened after Pukekohe, and the team has now locked in the pairing of Smith and Evans for the Great Race. And of course, as I said, Jackson making his Bathurst 1000 debut this weekend. Race engineer Mirko De Rossa returned to the Blanchard Racing team at its pre-Bathurst test at Winton. He had been absent since Hidden Valley due to back surgery, but will return to guide Tim Slade this weekend. And of course, BRT, if you haven't seen the news, has also confirmed the signing of Todd Hazelwood for the 2023 REPCO Supercars Championship. That was first reported by Speedcafe.com that Hazelwood would make the switch from Matt Stone Racing to BRT for next season, and that has all now been locked in and signed and sealed for 2023. The announcement, of course, also marks the confirmation of Tim Slade's impending departure from the Blanchards after 2 years in a blue Mustang. And just before we look at some specifics for this weekend, it's worth mentioning that Shane van Gisbergen has confirmed he has been in early talks with making a debut in NASCAR. Those conversations have been with Justin Marks, the boss of Trackhouse Racing, who recently launched the Project 91 program, and that is designed to give high-profile drivers a go in NASCAR. It doesn't, of course, come as much as a surprise with Van Gisbergen. He's a kind of guy that likes to drive anything and everything. Of course, case in point was the weekend just past where he competed in the World Rally Championship Rally New Zealand in WRC2, and he actually finished up third in that. So quite an effort there from Shane. Just how next year's NASCAR calendar lines up with Supercars will determine the possibility of any of that coming together for Shane in NASCAR next year. Right, let's talk Bathurst. And well, if you've looked at the forecast for this weekend, you would have already packed for wet weather. And if you haven't looked at the forecast, be prepared for a lot of rain. It's looking like almost certainly wet on race day. And in fact, there might be a fair amount of rain on all 4 days of track action from Thursday through to Sunday. That will be something to watch very closely as we get closer to the weekend. It's worth noting that that this year's great race marks 50 years since Peter Brock first won at the mountain in 1972. There are activations in the revamped fan precinct at this year's event to mark the 50th anniversary, and this will also be Holden's farewell to Mount Panorama, bringing an end to 50 years of history and heritage there for Holden as well. So quite a significant occasion on all accounts. Craig Lowndes will reach 300 round starts as well. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, Dick Johnson Racing, 1,000 Supercars races. So a lot of milestones for this weekend at Bathurst. Now, Speedcafe.com ran a gallery of some of Holden's most memorable race cars in the last few days, so make sure you check that out on the website. Now, our last bit of news for you, the new Gen 3 Ford Mustang Supercar will make its public and on-track debut at Mount Panorama this weekend. Ford recently unveiled its 7th generation Mustang, the S650, and that new look body will race in Supercars next year, replacing the current S550 with the introduction of Gen 3. The Gen 3 Mustang prototype has been converted to the S650 body in between in the break and in the last few weeks, and that will be rolled out at Bathurst in front of all the fans. Having a look at your Grove Hire leaderboard and the championship points coming into this weekend, Cam Waters is now 525 points back from Shane van Gisbergen, who is still streaking away with it at the top of the Drivers' Championship. Will Davison there in third place, ahead of his Shell V-Power Racing Team teammate Anton De Pasquale, and then we've got Chaz Mostert and Brock Feeney in 5th and 6th in the standings. That quite does us for our preview for this weekend at Bathurst. Make sure you have a look at the R&J Batteries event guide for all the details this weekend. We'll have Mobil 1 live updates running for you on Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. So when you're at work on Thursday and Friday in the office, you can keep an eye on what's going on if you don't have a TV in front of you, and make sure you stay across all the action on speedcafe.com. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the weekend.
Ryco Syntec oil filters are used by leading supercars team Tickford Racing on their Mustang V8 engines, and now you can get one for your road car. As part of Ryco's partnership with Tickford, significant production enhancements have been made to the Syntec range, including larger ports that improve oil flow and a thicker base plate for added protection against oil pressure surges during endurance events, whilst maintaining superior filtration and life. Syntec is a premium upgrade over OE, so ask your mechanic for Ryco Syntec at your next service and fit the best oil filter on the market.